All right, let's get to our main man, Zim WhoDey. Zim, have you caught your breath, my friend? I mean, we haven't caught up with you since you made the trip to Kansas City. How you doing? What's your state of mind right now, Zim? Well, a lot of people are wondering how you're doing, how you're feeling. Are you okay?
Yes, I am. I am alive and I'm well. I feel good. I'm very optimistic about, you know, I feel like it's crazy. And I almost feel like it's almost the summertime. Because the season is over, I'm like looking forward to like vacations and stuff like that. When they say Cancun on 3, I'm really like on Cancun mode. Like I went so hard, we were in savage mode and we did so much stuff that now I'm at this spot where I'm like, all right, I wish we would have gone further, or the Bengals gone further. But it is like a sigh of relief to a certain extent because it's like, all right, the pressure of this team winning, all these different things, all those things kind of went away a little bit. So I do feel good about that. Very disappointed in losing that game. That was one of the toughest games that I've ever had to witness because it was like probably like the second, third worst they played all season, and they still almost won. Like I just thought that they played so over the last 3 months, man. That was the best. That like everybody's so quick to talk about the all season and stuff, and I just can't get over the fact that like life is short, opportunities are limited. Man, that was the best Bengals team I've ever seen. I think I asked you that like everybody's just so quick, like, all right, let's get on to scouting. Like, how do you fix something that wasn't even really flawed like that? Like, it just had some unfortunate injuries right before the playoffs, and that showed in the game. And I guess we'll talk about that. But that was the best Bengals team I've ever seen. It would have wiped out like the earlier teams. I didn't get a chance to watch everyone. They would have creamed the 2005 Bengals. They would have beat the heck out of the 2015 Bengals too.
Yeah, I don't think they would have beaten. My own personal opinion is I don't think they would have beaten the team that went to the Super Bowl most recently before the one last year.
Really?
I think. Yeah. I mean that team. That team now. I mean, the wide receivers were pretty close, and that's hard to imagine. I mean, it was an unbelievable bunch they had, but the running backs and the offensive line were night and day. I mean, they really were. You had James Brooks, you had Ickey Woods, you had Stanley Wilson, you had multiple All-Pro offensive linemen. I think this year's Bengals defense was better this year. At the end of the day, to make a play, that defense had some good players. Kind of like this year's team, they had good players. They had a couple of standouts like this year's team. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll never know. How did you go? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
That's what I was saying, like that I've ever witnessed. You got to think, were you talking about like 88?
Yep.
I mean, like, bro, I'm like 4 or 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm super.
I know what you're saying.
I didn't see it, so I take everybody's word for it for sure. But just as I witnessed it, that like to lose like that, it sucked. Like I just was like from the very beginning. I just was like, God, that's not the same team. Like, they just couldn't get over the pressure, on that right-hand side of the line, and they never made those adjustments.
How were you treated personally when you went to Kansas City? I got to believe after all the stuff that was going on leading up to the game and social media and all that kind of stuff, when you show up out in the parking lot before the game, there had to be a bunch of Kansas City people that recognized who you were. Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, some people recognize me, but Twitter life and real life are two different things. Like Twitter is not real. Like when people, the Chiefs fans that did identify me there were like, "Oh man, I love your stuff." Then I go home and I looked at my phone, like I'd be like, "Oh yeah, what's your Twitter?" And then I'd be like, "These the guys that be talking about like Zim WhoDey's trash or the Bengals are trash." These the guys, and then when they meet me, they're like, "Hey man, I love all your content." Like Twitter life and in real life are two totally different things. I thought they're fans that I sat next to. I had to break up one fight. I thought their fans like the last season. I thought they treated me. It was really good. It was a great environment. You know, I tell people a lot of different stuff. I thought this season, like they were obnoxious. Like we would be yelling WhoDey like on defense, and they were like telling us like not this chant and stuff and say WhoDey when we didn't get called. So you know the phantom play where they got the free play. Naturally, all the Bengals fans were like, I was still like, okay, let's just go win the game. I'll worry about that later. But the Bengals fans that I was around, like they just never got over that. So everybody was like chanting, like, you know, like Roger Goodell, like, you know, that type of stuff. And I think it upset all the Chiefs fans around me. So they every single time a play would happen in our favor after that moment, they'd be like, see, like we didn't call anything in. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of beside the point. Like we're all witnessing like some very questionable calls here. Wouldn't you agree? And then I just thought it was like so crazy that everybody beforehand was like, they were the ones like first quarter, early on talking about referees, like heavy, like every single call. Oh my God, they ain't called it. And then when the call started going their way, they was just like, yeah. And then afterwards it was like, yeah, man, you guys are great. And I'm thinking to myself, like, bro, like if y'all lost, y'all would have been crying. Like they would have been in tears out there. And I just thought it was like, I don't know. I didn't. Not only was it very cold out there, Thom, it was like one of those games where it was just, it wasn't fun. If we had won, maybe my perspective might be different, but
Sure.
I just thought that they were super obnoxious the whole entire game, and it was like, it was annoying.
All right, let me ask you this. Did I read correctly? Did Chris Jones call you a clown? I mean, is that true?
Hey, look, for somebody that keeps all their receipts, I guess Chris Jones had mine. He had that receipt just sitting right there, right? Because as soon as that game was over, he found that receipt. I was talking to like some of the guys on the team. I'm like, bro, like, did Chris Jones like tweet you? They're like, no. I'm like, so he tweeted me of all people? Like, why would Chris Jones? Like, I'm asking the guy, I'm like, bro, did Chris Jones, like, was he talking trash? They was like, nah. I'm like, so this dude, but I have a theory, though. Before the week of the game, hear me out. This is kind of crazy. Twitter Spaces always has a lot of like what I think are like burner accounts of like, sometimes I think they're players or whatever. We just keep on talking the whole entire time. When I was in the Spaces, I kept on saying how in the Week 15 matchup he didn't play good at all. Now I don't know if he has a burner account or what, but somebody must have gave him, got word to him. I said, bro, and these are facts. This is not me talking trash. Prior to that game, he had never registered a playoff sack.
Yep.
In the Week 15 matchup, he didn't give a pressure, he didn't give a sack or anything. So I was telling him I thought he was a great player, but he didn't do anything the last time. Now, mind you, I'm thinking he's going to be lining up on the left-hand side with Bronson and going against, Karras and Karma, and I didn't care. As soon as that didn't work out for them, like the first series or two, they moved him over to Adeniji, and, the rest is history, and he had a great game. I don't think that he'll have that same game in the Super Bowl. That's just my opinion. But I also showed like 3 or 4 plays, like in the Spaces you could show plays, and he took plays off in the Week 15. He was getting double teamed a lot, and I highlighted 3-4 plays, and then I noticed that the plays were getting likes from like burner accounts. You know what I'm saying? Like not like actual people. So I'm like, well, it got to be like a, like a Chiefs, enthusiast or something. Maybe it's him or not, but whatever it is, I'm pretty like, because other than that, I don't have any tweets or anything about them. I don't at players, so I just thought it was crazy that he came back after that. I don't tweet, I don't at players because I just think, I don't know, that's kind of weird to me. Unless it's like a player I know, like it's just a little awkward.
Right. So when do you now, Zim, you said earlier, and you and your main man, Ace Boogie, you guys are going to continue on with Cincinnati, your podcast and all that kind of thing. When are you going to start shifting gears into the offseason? Because this is a big offseason for the Bengals.
That's a great question, Thom. I've been outside ever since the game. You know me. I'll be hanging out outside, trying to clear my thoughts.
Yep. You're a woodsy kind of man. For those that are just watching Zim for the first time.
I literally, I got my bubble vest on. I just was outside and I was thinking, me and my son, we've been running laps and stuff, and we're trying to get our mind right. He's heavy in basketball, so I kind of shifted my focus. Everybody's super excited about prospects, and I swear, and I do good. I do some good breakdown on some guys. I pick guys, like every single season, and people that follow me, they know that. When I tell you this is the least enthusiastic I've been about the all season in my entire life. Like I have no desire to like look at a player or anything. Like I just don't like that team. Minus the injuries going into that playoff. I just like I'm thinking about like the window of opportunity. I've talked about that on the show. It's very, very small sometimes, and you need a lot of different things. You need a Sam Hubbard 94-yard, fumble return. You need, what I mean? You need a Hail Mary pass to fall on the ground, and you need all these different things. You need maybe snowy conditions for offensive linemen that work in their favor. You need all these different things, to work. And I'm smart enough to realize I don't see a world where, and I could be just jumping the gun. I don't see a world where they'll have as much talent on paper as what they just had, like this upcoming season.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think they got. I
Really?
think they got some wiggle room here as far as their fiscal situation is concerned because of the money they've been kind of putting in a war chest. They'll without a doubt structure Burrow's contract in such a way that they won't be taking big hits against a cap. If I were a betting man, at least for say 3 more years. So
right.
I don't know. I if I were a betting man, and I'm not, these other guys, they watch their money go out the door all the time gambling. I think if I were a betting man, I would bet they have a better roster next year than they had this year. Now, does that mean they're going to be a better team? Does that mean they're going to play better? Does that mean that they're going to win as many games? No, of course it doesn't, because you can't foresee some of the things. You just ripped off a couple. Play by Hubbard, that could be made by the other team next year. The Hail Mary in the end zone. Maybe the guy catches the ball next year. But I would bet money. They've proven to me, Duke, Tobin, and that whole group, that they're very good at assessing the talent that they have, whether to keep them or let them go. They're very good in terms of assessing draft picks, going all the way back to the Marvin era. They've always been very good in the draft by and large. And they've been exceptionally good at being able to judge talent of free agent players that they could bring in from other teams. I think that they're going to have a better team, better roster next year than this year. Does that give you any hope, Zim?
For sure. I value your opinion, Thom. They got some tough calls to make. Like the Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson. Of course, I think they probably go Logan Wilson. I think Jermaine Pratt is like one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Like seriously, I just don't see them. Like I do see a world where I think that they can go get like make offensive line a point of strength, and that alone, like I was telling people some different things I thought from a philosophical standpoint, like this is the direction that we want to go. Like maybe you go tight end heavy in the draft, kind of getting a 2-for-1, a guy that can block inline and super athletic, still re-sign Hayden Hurst, and then work and draft the offensive lineman early. Then you got La'el Collins. As he comes back, maybe he's the 6th man. Mm-hmm. And then now like your offensive line is like a point of strength. If you got La'el Collins is like the 6th guy. Like I could see a lot of these different things, but some of it is so early that I'm not privy to all the information as far as like how much cap space that they need. I mean, They have after these deals get done. What does the T. Higgins deal look like? All these different things. I do say if they were able to go get like an outstanding 3-sack, one thing from the Super Bowl that I'll be watching for, that a guy that I got my eye on is Hargrave, the defensive tackle. He had 11 sacks. He might be in that $8, $9, $10 million range. I don't know if they have a move for something like that, but a move like that, I think on the defensive side of the ball, and then what I just talked about on the offensive side of the ball, I think the thing that I do know is that they strengthen the trenches on both sides and make it a point of strength and not just good or above average. Then I think they can kind of get away from the problems that have halted them getting a Super Bowl the last 2 seasons. And I could see a world where that happens. So I'm with you. It's maybe it's early, and I just got to get more info. And like I said, leaving that game, that was tough. That was tough.